Hello, guys. Today we are going to be looking at Genesis chapter 4. Cain murders Abel. Um, Verse 1. And the man had connection with Eve, his wife, and she became with child and gave birth to the first child, Cain, and said, I have got a man from the Lord. Then again she became with child and gave birth to Abel, his brother. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a farmer. So we're seeing the first birth, at least the first recorded birth in the Bible of Cain, and then followed by his brother. And they had different professions, whereby Abel was a keeper of sheep and Cain was a farmer. You know why they had different professions? But well, actually, we don't even know what Adam's profession was. What was Eve's profession? What were they doing? But we are seeing the first professions, one by Abel and another by Cain, whereby Cain was the farmer and Abel was the keeper of sheep. Verse 3. And after a time, Cain gave to the Lord an offering of the fruits of the earth. And Abel gave an offering of the young lambs of his flock and of their fat. And the Lord was pleased with Abel's offering. But in Cain and his offering he had no pleasure. And Cain was angry, and his face became sad. And the Lord said to Cain, why are you angry? And why is your face sad? So to me, when I look at this, I don't understand why Cain's offering was not pleasing God. Why was the offering of Abel preferred? Why was it better than Cain's? I do not understand. And actually, this is the first we see of offerings in the Bible, because before in Adam and Eve's time, there was no mention of any offering to the Lord. This is the first time we see that offerings have to be made, and we don't know if it was an order, like God commanded it. We don't know whether it was a command or a choice, but we know that only the sons did it, and Cain's offering was not pleasing to the Lord. So, but we are not given the explanation yet. So let's go on. So the Lord is asking Cain, why is angry? Why is your face sad? Verse 7 says, if you do well, will you not have honor? And if you do wrong, sin is waiting at the door, desiring to have you, but do not let it be your master. So God is this is a this is like so God is just I don't know was I don't know what they had in mind writing this, because to me it does not make sense. Like why is what Cain did a sin? Because, or is it even a sin? It's not very clear. Like when you see, God is just saying that if you do wrong, sin is waiting at the door, desiring to have you, but do not let it be your master. So clearly, okay, not clearly, but this kind of implies that Cain sinned by giving an offering that wasn't pleasing to the Lord. Um, so he's telling him that he should not let that be his master. He should not let it control him, because he has done wrong, and sin is always he's waiting at the door. So it waits. When you do wrong, it will want to be your master. So, and Cain said to his brother, let us go into the field. And when they were in the field, Cain made an attack on his brother Abel and put him to death. So we're seeing the first account of a death. First person who died in the Bible was Abel, killed by his brother. So clearly Cain did not listen to what God said to him, because he did something that was not pleasing to the Lord, God told him that if he does not let it be his master, it will have him. And he did not listen. He goes on and kills his brother. Like, this also doesn't make sense. Like, why would he take such drastic measures? Like, why is Cain killing Abel? Doesn't make sense to any of you. Just because God liked he likes what Abel offered better, like that's that's not enough to kill your brother. Like, in those times, even, like, why he's so far he's the only other person that's not one of your parents that's around, from what we know, from best I know, actually, from what I can read. I cannot assume that there are other people around, because these were the first creations of first human beings created. These are the only kids that have been mentioned. So that's really not enough to kill your own brother. So the motivation doesn't make sense. And mm, after putting him to death, and the Lord said to Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" And he said, "I have no idea. Am I my brother's keeper?" So God is asking Cain, like, we are seeing that God doesn't always know where people are, because in Genesis chapter 3, we saw that God was looking for Adam and Eve when they were hiding, so he couldn't see where they are. Same way in which he could sense, it's like he could sense that Abel wasn't around, so he was asking Cain where the brother was. Or maybe he actually knew what had happened and he wanted to see what Cain would say about it. Like, like whenever he calls out, where is, like the way he called out Adam, "Where are you?" The way he's calling out Cain, "Where is your brother?" Maybe he already knows, but he just wants to see what the response of these people will be when he asks them the questions. So Cain is clearly denying that he has no idea, that he has an idea of where the brother is. Like, he is asking, "Am I my brother's keeper?" But, like, you are the big brother. You definitely are your brother's keeper if you're the big brother, if he's the only other child that your parents have. So, and Cain said, "What have no?" And God said, rather, and God said, "What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying to me from the earth. And now you are cast from the earth, whose mouth is going to take your brother's blood from your hand." So here we can see that God knows. God knows that Abel is dead. He really wanted to see what Cain would say about it. He's telling him, "Your brother's blood, the voice of your blood, the voice of your brother's blood, the voice of your brother's blood." So his blood, Abel's blood apparently has a voice that God can hear. So he's crying. So I don't know how to interpret this. Like, I guess there is a way God can sense it. So maybe, like, when Abel died, his soul was calling out to God. He's crying to me from the earth. So it's the blood. Oh my God. Let me check another version of the. Let me check King James version. What does it say? Uh, and he said, "What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground." It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Voice of your brother's blood. So, don't know how to interpret it best. I guess we'll just take it the way it is. So, we see that from now on, when you till the ground, it won't yield its strength to you. You will be a fugitive and a wanderer to the earth, in the earth, rather. Cain said to the Lord, "My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, you have driven me out today from the surface of the ground. I will be hidden from your face, and I will be a fugitive and a wanderer in the earth. Whoever finds me will kill me. The Lord said to him, Therefore, whoever slays Cain, vengeance will be taken on him sevenfold. The Lord appointed a sign for Cain, that anyone finding him would not strike him. So we are seeing that God is punishing Cain. God is giving him a heavy punishment, and Cain claims that he cannot bear the punishment because it's too heavy. But like, think about it. Like, Cain is a farmer by profession, and God is giving him such a punishment that if he tills the ground, nothing will come out. Uh, the earth no longer, so it will no longer, so Cain can't get anything from his profession anymore, and he has to wander the earth. So what will he eat? Like, why would God give such a heavy punishment? Anyway, the sin was grave. It was a very bad sin. Like, murdering is the worst, okay, one of the worst sins, if not the worst sin you can commit. Like, even if you don't believe in, if even if you're not a Christian, like killing, taking the life of another human being is very bad, like morally, unless it's in a war, like, because in a war people have no choice but to kill each other because of orders from their generals or commanders. But like, normally in daily life, when you taking a person's life is something very, very, very bad. Like, uh so God has mercy on Cain, because Cain complains that the punishment is too heavy, greater than his strength, and he's saying that anyone that sees him will kill him. But like, who is he talking about? Like, who is anyone? So that means there are other human beings on the earth. That's what it implies. Because, like, why were they not mentioned? Why didn't God mention the creation of other human beings? Because he told us that the Bible tells us that Adam was the first to be created, Eve was the second. They had kids. So where did other people come from? That is something that needs to be, that the Bible doesn't address. So far, it doesn't address it. But as you can see, that there are other people that will see Cain and put him to death. He fears because there are other people. Where are they coming from? And the Lord said, Truly, if Cain is put to death, 7 lives will be taken for his. And the Lord put a mark on Cain so that no one might put him to death. So he puts a mark on Cain. So no one will just kill Cain. So that means this is proof that there are other people. This is proof that there are other people. But we don't know where they come from. So if anyone kills him, vengeance will be taken on him sevenfold. That means 7 lives will be taken if Cain is killed. So people definitely would not want to kill Cain after this. And so now we see that the Bible, Genesis chapter 4, goes on to mention the family of Cain. And like it says in verse 16, that, and Cain went away from before the face of the Lord, and made his living place in the land of Nod, on the east of Eden. So wait, on the east of Eden implies that they are actually in Eden, or am I the one who's wrong about that? Isn't Eden out of bounds? The east of Eden is where, okay, maybe after it's. I'm just gonna have to guess and say that it was outside Eden, at the, like, after the eastern part, like, of Eden. That's where they were, because that's where Cain went to live. Cain had a connection with his wife, and she became with child. So where is the wife coming from? Still, we don't know. And she became with child and gave birth to Enoch, and he made a town and gave the town the name of Enoch after his son. So Cain has the ability to make a whole town on his own. And Enoch had a son, Irad, and Irad became the father of Mehujael. And Mehujael became the father of Methusael, and Methusael became the father of Lamech. So we are seeing that all these, the lineage is basically mentioned in the family tree of Cain, like everyone that came after Cain. The sons, the wives are not mentioned, their names are not mentioned, only the sons' names are mentioned. So we now see that Lamech had two wives. Oh, now some names of the wives are being mentioned. Lamech's wives' names were Ada, and the name of the other was Zillah. So first mention of two wives, because no one else, we haven't seen anyone else that had two wives in the Bible so far. Ada gave birth to Jabal. He was the father of such as are living in tents and keep cattle. So it's assigning a whole culture to Jabal, to Jubal. Is it Jabal? Jabal, like Ada, one of the wives of Lamech, is giving birth to a son called Jabal, who is the father of people who live in tents and keep cattle. So that's like a designation to Jabal's descendants. And his brother's name was Jubal, and he was the father of all players on instruments of music. So everyone, so he's basically saying that everyone that came after Jubal was a player of an instrument of music. And Zillah gave birth to Tubal Cain, who is the father of every maker of cutting instruments of brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal Cain was Nama. So first mention of a girl child. Yeah, first mention of a girl child actually. Because before we were only seeing the sons and sons. So maybe, well, but still we don't even know where the wife of Cain came from, or the wife of Lamech was. So we just see them appearing from nowhere. So Lamech said to his two wives, Ada and Zillah, give ear to my voice. You wives of Lamech, give attention to my words. For I would put a man to death for a wound, and a young man for a blow. So we don't know the significance of this statement because it's just mentioned like Lamech said this to his wife. Oh, why? Like I would let's analyze it. For I would put a man to death for a wound, and a young man for a blow. I totally don't understand what that means. Let me see in another version. In Bible in British English. Let's see. And Lamech said, you wives of Lamech, listen to my speech. For I have slain a man for wounding me, and a young man for bruising me. That means he will kill anyone who wounds me, who wounds him. So that means he's just telling them he's dangerous. He's a killer. Wait, he has killed someone. For what is this a threat? Like, what's the point of this statement? Why is Lamech even mentioning it to Israel? He's just showing them how powerful he is. Like, come on. If Cain will be avenged 7 times, truly Lamech 70 times. So Lamech is telling his wives that for him, if if he's killed, 77 lives will be taken in place of him. So maybe this is part of the of what God did to Cain, and so it affects his descendants, like because people will want to kill Cain because he killed Abel. So if they kill Cain, 7 lives are taken. But for Lamech, he's now mentioned. This is not God saying this; it's Lamech who said this to his wife. 77 lives will be taken for Lamech's one life. Wow. And we don't even know if this is that significant in the Bible, because this is the first I'm hearing of this. I don't think I've ever heard of anything about Lamech and about, okay, anyway, maybe we'll get to hear about Cain's descendants after later on in the Bible. So, a new son. Genesis chapter 4, verse 25 says, "And Adam had connection with his wife again, and she gave birth to a son, to whom she gave the name of Seth. For she said, God has given me another seed in place of Abel, whom Cain put to death. And Seth had a son, and he gave him the name of Enosh. At the time, at this time, men first made use of the name of the Lord in worship." So we are seeing the birth of the third son of Adam and Eve. At least to the best of my knowledge, I could not see. I can see from reading the way I've been reading that Seth was a replacement for Abel. So the God replaced, because Eve said, uh, "God has given me another seed in place of Abel, whom Cain." So Seth was like compensation for Abel, for Cain killing Abel. So we see the lineage of a brief lineage of Seth. He had a son with the name of Enosh at the time, and we're being shown that this is the first time they used the name of the Lord in worship. This is the first time they were worshiping. So before, they never used to do this. That's what it implies. Quite a fascinating book, the Bible. But like this chapter, generally, the Genesis chapter 4 is not the interesting one, but like, because it's very confusing. We see post wives spawning from nowhere, people that want to kill Cain from nowhere. We don't know where they came from. Maybe something was lost in between Genesis chapter 3 and chapter 4. I do not know. But yeah, those of you with better knowledge about this, you can write something in the comment section if you ever get to watch this, that is. So thank you for watching.